every journalist has a story that haunts them. Mine is the death of a teenage girl named Bree Jones. Long before I had ever heard of Jeffrey Epstein or Virginia Giuffre, I found myself sitting in a Spartan courtroom as evidence unfolded about the death of a 16-year-old at the seaside town of Caves Beach, near Newcastle, Australia. The court heard that Bree had been given a lethal dose of a medication, allegedly to incapacitate her for non consensual sex at a party. She had 4 needle marks in one arm and another injection mark in the other. Moreover, I found a yellowing newspaper clipping from the inquest recently while researching Virginia's death. My byline sat above a story from Newcastle Coroner's Court in 1998, where witnesses described a rebellious teen who had allegedly been left for dead. It was a story of a small town shutting the door on the truth. In my view, Bree's death was one of those cases where a community seemed to know more than it was prepared to say. Due to the troubling circumstances surrounding her death, the matter was referred to an inquest. More than 3 decades later, one line from the hearing still echoes. We can't get a straight version of what happened, the police prosecutor told the coroner. Moreover, this is similar to the frustration facing Virginia's American family because of the grey areas, the lapses of information, and the missing logic. The official story of events leading up to her death on April 25th, 2025, doesn't make sense, in my opinion. This is why there needs to be a full investigation into her untimely death at age 41. As a journalist who has covered the Epstein case, I wrote to the Western Australian coroner last week to ask for an inquest due to the secrecy around Virginia's passing. Unlike a criminal trial, the coronial process is not designed to determine guilt or innocence. Its purpose is to establish facts, examine circumstances, and identify lessons that may help prevent future deaths. That is why I understand why Virginia's American family is fighting so hard for one. Her brothers, Sky Roberts and Danny Wilson, have formally requested a public coronial inquest into their sister's death in Western Australia. They do not dispute that she died by suicide on April 25th, 2025. What they question is whether the systems meant to protect her responded adequately to her escalating distress in the months before her death. Their call is being backed by 16 Australia domestic violence experts, academics, and practitioners who say the case raises broader questions about coercive control, legal systems abuse, and how authorities respond to women seeking protection. Moreover, this intervention is significant because it is grounded in a growing body of Australian research suggesting women experiencing coercive control can struggle to be believed when they seek help, while some perpetrators successfully manipulate legal and institutional systems to their advantage. The sentiment echoes concerns raised by researchers who have spent years studying coercive control, family violence, and what experts describe as legal systems abuse. The use of police, courts, and protection order processes as tools of continued control. A 2023 Australian study published in Violence Against Women found perpetrators may attempt to portray themselves as victims, make allegations against their partners, or exploit institutional biases to undermine victim survivors. Researchers warned that women experiencing coercive control can be disbelieved, misidentified as perpetrators, or become trapped in legal processes that deepen rather than alleviate their trauma. The same research identified a growing concern among domestic violence specialists that coercive control frequently continues after separation, with litigation, police complaints, and protection order applications sometimes becoming another arena in which abuse is played out. The experts supporting an inquest have not suggested conclusions about her death. Rather, they argue that an independent public examination is necessary because family violence researchers and coroners are increasingly recognizing links between coercive control, psychological harm, and elevated suicide risk among women. Recent Australian studies have found women subjected to family violence often describe feeling trapped, isolated, and unable to access effective help. Researchers have also highlighted concerns about perpetrators manipulating a victim's mental health vulnerabilities as part of broader patterns of control. In Family Violence and Women's Deaths by Suicide, a Victorian study by Stefani Vasile, it reads, Coroners and researchers in Australia and internationally are increasingly drawing attention to the intersection between women's lived experiences of family violence and their heightened risk of suicide. In recent years, the Victorian coronial investigation process has revealed compelling evidence of the impact of family violence victimisation in its myriad forms on women's mental health and well-being generally and suicidality specifically.